From historic Reg Sherman Field at Kershner Stadium in New Orleans, Crescent City Sports is proud to bring you American Legion Baseballs. Here tonight, we've got a matchup between the St. Augustine High Base
A lot of schools like Millsaps who's going to take advantage and give kids opportunity that might necessarily would have been in the recruiting aspect before.
Bacchus on a 2-1 pitch, grounds out to short, and one gone here in the first inning, as that was Bryce Babin with a nice play, making the throw across to Logan Bertucci, one of your players, over at first base. And that'll bring up the left fielder, Ahmad Owens.
Bryce Babin, a Bishop State signee and the son of one of my former players, Wendell Babin.
How many sons of players have you coached now?
The old thing is I've been around long enough. I think it's finally caught up to me. I've been around long enough. This is a situation that I'm quite proud of, to be quite honest with you, to see our guys come back and play for me. Bryce is one young man that is going to go to Bishop State, but it's been fun coaching the sons of the sons, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah,
with you.
and then you're probably not far off with maybe some of your teammates. You might be coaching their grandkids before much longer. I would think.
Pretty neat stuff when you get a teammate. Here's another ground ball to Bryce, well handled, throws it across for the out.
Nice job there, and it's two ground balls and 2 outs for Lesh to start this game, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Troy Brown.
The first baseman, number 44, Troy Brown.
Coach Tuyer's got the old ball yard looking pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks terrific. It's been a strange weather year, hasn't it? I mean,
really
you
has.
get you're getting a lot of periods as that's a pitch is taken for a strike where you don't get rain for several days. Then all of a sudden it just comes down, quite a bit for a day or two, and then you get another long stretch. We haven't really established that summer pattern yet of that seemingly everyday 3 o'clock rain shower, which I'm sure you're not disappointed
at.
at.
And hopefully we won't.
Yeah. No. 1 ball and 1 strike to Brown. As we're just underway, glad you could join us here on this Wednesday night from Kersh-Rooney in beautiful New Orleans. Down a ball. It's 2 balls and 1 strike.
Lesh doing exactly what I would think he'd do coming out of St. Charles Catholic, filling the strike zone up early and often, and his misses are just out of the zone.
Takes a strike. It's 2-2. Congratulations to Wayne Stein and St. Charles Catholic on a baseball title. What a story that program was this year. Winning in football, winning in baseball, and everything they had to deal with, like so many, but really that LaPlace area got crushed worse than most after Hurricane Ida. And to come back and win 2 state championships, and tip of the cap to Coach Stein, who was head coach for both of those teams, at least in our area.
Well,
you go back to J.T. Curtis. He may have been the last one to win football and baseball in the same year.
Good point. I know this, Lenny. Anybody that watches the show Friday Night Fastball knows exactly how I feel about Wayne Stein. I think he's one of the finest coaches in the state and maybe in the country for high school athletics, not only football but baseball. He gets his kids motivated. His kids play hard. And on top of that, he can teach the game. I mean, he's very knowledgeable, but the most important thing that I think is how hard his kids play for him.
3-2 pitch, check swing right back to the mound. And Lesh, a bit of a wide throw, but a nice play right there by the first baseman, Bertucci, to make the play. And it's a 3-up, 3-down inning. So St. Aug-based Chief McDaniels up and down here in the top of the first, and they will take the field defensively as Gibbs will come in the bat. This batting order, Bryce Babin, we talked about him. He is leading off and playing shortstop. Bradley Pell, the extra hitter, is batting second. Logan O'Neill, the right fielder, hits third. Cam Sr. is in left field, batting fourth. Logan Bertucci, the first baseman, is batting fifth. Leo Kerner, the DH, hits sixth. Walker Bazile, the center fielder, bats seventh. Gavin Tranchina, the third baseman, bats eighth. Kaysen Alexander handles the catching. He bats ninth. And Bryce Coe, the second baseman, will bat 10th.
Well, when you got the leading hitter in the city batting in the 7th hole, you must have a pretty nice offensive team. Walker Bazile, I think, looking at the all-region teams in the area, was named the most outstanding hitter on those clubs, and he's batting in the 7th hole here.
And let's talk a little bit about how Gibbs, pardon the pun, is constructed. This is a team primarily made up of seniors and some college freshmen from all over the area. They're not based at one school. They'll take players from half a dozen schools in the area, and when you and I were growing up, there was a team like that. It was basically what was the Shamrock construction team at the time.
So Coach Thayard at Old Tack Amusement, at Redemptress we had probably handful of players that would play Legion baseball, and the rest of our buddies would go to work in the summer. So Coach Thayard kind of had the gist of what Gibbs is, with 3 or 4 or 5 different schools making up his roster. But what Coach has done here, Coach Ream has done, and it's good to see him that he got back in the Legion, because he announced last summer that last year was his last summer of Legion baseball. But he goes out and he gets the seniors that aren't playing anywhere and puts together a pretty nice roster. And, very, very competitive. Got to the World Series a couple years ago with 4 or 5 guys that, ended up at Delgado. And he's got the same base of this club. It looks very similar, to be quite honest with you. He's got all seniors that are coming, and maybe a couple college returnees off my club. So it's interesting to see how they'll advance. That's why I wish there was a league, because you'd get to see more of that. But unfortunately, there's not.
You won't see it on a night-in, night-out basis. That's for sure. Bryce Babin out of Chalmette, the Bishop State signee, leads things off as he is facing Jaden Jackson, the left-hander for Chief McDaniels.
Well, if Bryce Babin's anything like his daddy, he's a young man who loves to play, and that's one thing his dad was. His dad was a guy that really was a grinder. He played at Holy Cross and came here and played and just loved to be on the field. And looks like Bryce is taking up right from that. The old saying, apple trees don't bear oranges. Looks like that's what the case is with Bryce. He looks like he really loves the game and is a baseball rat.
2-1 the count here. That pitch missed for ball 3. It looked like the catcher was crossed up a bit.
I was talking to the St. Aug coaches before the game started, and they're dealing with their football 7-on-7 day today, so they're missing a few of their starters. So a few adjustments to be made for them, but it gives other kids opportunities, and that's what really summer baseball is.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see some things in the summer, like you mentioned. There's everything from other sports to work to whatever the case may be, and you're getting opportunities out there for these young men. And so the leadoff walk will bring in Bradley Pell, who is at Millsaps. He graduated a year ago from Rummel. Takes a strike. It's 0-1, left on left.
Lenny, I know we're going to be talking about a million things, but I'd like to bring this up. I wish Legion would some kind of way bridge the gap from where they are right now to where travel baseball is. And what I mean by that is it would give some more opportunities. If they expand the roster size, the 18-man roster size is something that happened in the 50s and 60s. I mean, they need to get to the 25 to 27-man roster.
Where you can rotate guys through.
And more importantly, take the pressure off a kid's arm, because most pitchers are going to be taxed with an 18-man roster size. You expand the rosters to 25 to 27, you're able to keep more combination players on your field, and you can take the stress off a pitcher's arm. That can only help down the road. The other thing that they need to do is they need to structure their rules to kind of
They finally made the change to go from 9 innings to 7 innings in the postseason.
Well, that was one great change they made. The next great change they need to make is they need to make open rosters. Yeah, so you're talking about a cap, enrollment cap, I think of 7,500, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. If you make open rosters and you make it almost like travel baseball, you'll get a better brand of baseball to be played. And guess what? If
that's a fly ball that will drop in front of the center fielder for a base hit. Babin had made it all the way around to third on a couple of wild pitches. He will score to make this a 1-0 game.
The thing about it is you open some doors and some opportunities, and next thing you know, you got a decent league.
Well, you get more. There's some of the things, and again, we're looking at it in a small snapshot here, and I'm sure there issues going on similarly in other parts of the country as well as Logan O'Neal steps in.
I think they're fighting the same issue everywhere, to be quite honest with you. They're fighting the travel baseball model. And, I mean, that model is, hey, I'm going to go get the best kids I can get and go play on a Saturday and Sunday somewhere and try to showcase my kids. Well, why not let Legion teams do that? Why not say, hey, we're going to play our league Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you all can have Saturday and Sunday to go showcase your players. I just think it's very shallow thinking on a national level that could be very, very easily changed.
2-1 to count, and I know you're very excited about this young man standing in the box, O'Neal, who is was it Curtis this year? Was a star at Curtis, and he's headed to your program this fall.
Yeah, he'll be a two-way guy for me, obviously, and like he was for Curtis. And I mean, they've got a couple kids on this Gibbs construction roster that are in my program already, but are also coming to my program. So we're excited to see him play tonight. And like I said, I totally support what everybody's doing, and I understand the model of a travel baseball club, and I understand the model of an American Legion program. But I mean, God, I just can't believe can't we all like one another?
It's unfortunately I think we see more of that in society now. I don't know if it's a case of social media or whatever it is. It's like when we when we disagree on something, instead of finding a way to work it out, we just manage to splinter things too much. So you hope it's you hope you can find some common ground, and we'll see as we get a visit to the mound as Cam Sr., another of your players, gets ready to step in, a former Brother Martin product, 2021 grad, who was in your program this year.
Yeah, so he was a medical redshirt for us this year, Lenny. Cam had a problem, an intestinal problem that kind of really put him on the shelf almost all the year, and literally just started to actually see live practice with us about a week before our regional that was played in Baton Rouge. So he didn't obviously get on the field very much and didn't get to see a whole lot of live pitching. But here we go. We'll get to, he probably feels like he's jumping out of his skin that he gets to play a game.
So Pell steals third. O'Neal was not moving on the back end, so they are at the corners, and the count is 0-1 to Senior.
Senior had a great senior year for Brother Martin. I think
back to the mound. They've got the runner in a rundown. Now he's going to go back to third, and no play anywhere.
Yeah.
Needed to run right at the runner there, make one throw to third base, and a good heads-up play there by Pell. He went right back to the bag at third, and no one was there to make a play.
I mean, he did his job of checking the runner, but he still could have gotten the out, obviously, very easily at first base there.
Yeah, so bases are loaded now for Bertucci, another product of your program this year, 2021 graduate of Archbishop Rummel.
Yeah, a young man that I use mostly defensively in behind the bat of Jacob Fury. So Fury would play offensively early for me, and Bertucci would play late for me defensively.
Two-0 coming. It's up high, ball three, and no place to put him right now.
You can obviously see the age difference of the Gibbs construction team composed to the St. Aug club.
Yeah, there's no doubt. That's one thing that is a big advantage for Danny Ream's team is you're playing with guys who are, again, predominantly seniors and college freshmen. There's a couple of juniors on there. 3-1. Hit in the air to right field. This is going to get over the head of everybody and roll towards the warning track. 2 runs are going to score on the play, and a double for Bertucci scores Pell and O'Neal, and it's a 3-0 ball game. We take another look at that one.
Ball was a double off the bat from the get-go. And the young man in playing right field wasn't quite aware of the pop that Bertucci has, and ball was well over his head.
Yeah, that's Bacchus out in right field. That thing just carried out there. So Leo Kerner, the designated hitter, Shaw product, who's headed to Millsaps. Got 2 runners in scoring position right here. A chance to drive them in.
That flag was still could be until the game started. And when the game started, it started to blow out to left field almost on cue.
Turned on the air conditioning here in the stadium and sent it out that way. 2-0 misses downstairs, and it's 3 balls and no strikes. So this ballpark has always stayed very busy during June and July. It won't be as much Legion baseball this year, but you do have All-American again getting ready to get cranked up, and has been a part of things here for.
So what we're going to do, Lenny, and change a little bit. In the past, we've played on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays with the Collegiate League, and Monday, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays with the American Legion League, because of the fact that Legion's only using 1 night a week. The College League has chosen to move its dates around a little bit, and going to play some Mondays and some Tuesdays. They're going to play a couple Thursdays and Fridays. They're going to play on the weekend. They're not going to fight Father's Day weekend, and they're not going to fight the 4th of July weekend. So it's going to give a little more opportunity for the College League. We're going to try. I think that's a well-hit ball by Bazile.
Bazile out in the left center field.
Nice
it's run
run.
down. Nice play by the left fielder.
Ahmad Owens making a nice play right there. Nice running catch.
Yeah, ran it down in the gap. The run, senior from third base, tags up and scores easily to make it a 4-0 game. But that's a very nice defensive play right there. It'll go down as a sacrifice fly and an RBI. But the first out here of the bottom of the first is a well-hit ball by Bazile, but a very nice defensive play by Owens. So runners at first and second, and the batter will be Gavin Tranchina out of Patrick Taylor, another one who's headed to Millsaps.
Gavin Tranchina is an interesting story. His father, Scott Tranchina, who was a real good pitcher at Archbishop Shaw and then went to play at UNO and was very successful at UNO. This young man has really turned into a nice player. I tried to get in the recruiting game a little late. He had already committed to Millsaps, but he fills his frame out. I'm gonna have to ask Scott where he got that height from, because that definitely wasn't what Scott was built like when he was a senior in high school. But he's got a lot of upside. Millsap's got a good player in this young man.
1-1 is outside. It's 2 balls and a strike.
Mainly, I think it's going to be used mainly as a pitcher at the collegiate level.
Playing third base tonight, getting a chance to bat. His team's choosing to play tonight with 10-man lineup, so they do have some flexibility in what they can do.
Don't get me started on that. I'm not going to talk about that. You play baseball, you play a 9-man lineup, and it's baseball.
Yeah.
This is not baseball. But I'm going to bite my tongue and not comment anymore on that. The extra hitter.
The extra hitter. I've seen these all-star games. That pitches into dirt ball 4. It's going to allow the run to score. And Tranchina will move down to first with a walk, so they'll be at the corners. And that pushes the 5th run of the inning across, and Case and Alexander will bat. Alexander out of Hanville. He's just a junior. Got another year to play there.
One of the few juniors on this roster, I believe.
Foul back. It's 0-1. Hanville has a new baseball coach.
Yeah, Coach Dave Beaudry, who again was a big fan of and remain a big fan of, stepping aside and going to coach just football and be a teacher. And I will tell you this, Hanville, I'm sure, has a great person taking his place, but not a better baseball mind around than Dave Beaudry.
There's not many, no question about that. Coach Vial coming across from Destrehan, and will
Coach Vial's brother, and of course his daddy's success as a softball coach at Hanville speaks for itself. So he comes from baseball prodigy of a family. So, I mean, and they, he'll do a great job. But, again, the fact that Coach Beaudry won't be there will be a void.
Another one back to the screen will allow the run to score.
One thing that people don't realize, Dave Beaudry, when he had a player, my phone rang. He was always trying to get his players placed. I mean, he never, ever, ever did anything that would hurt Hornville's program and not help their young players. And I think that's all you can ask in a high school coach.
On the ground to third. Looked towards home, but realized there was no play to be made there. Instead, to throw across, and it's the second out of the inning, but the run does score. And it's now a 7-0 game.
Tyron showed a nice arm right there, yeah. Tyron Kirkland. He threw that ball across the diamond like a big leaguer.
And the batter will be Bryce Coe out of Archbishop Hannon, second baseman, signed with Spring Hill. Got college signees at the bottom of your batting order. That tells you just about the depth of this Gibbs construction lineup.
It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. I was talking to Ed Wilson, who's the new director of American Legion baseball here in the state, and he was talking about the state playoffs. How they haven't really got the formula. There's another ground ball to shortstop.
Throw across is in time.
Kenny Rhodes gets it over there in time, and we kill the first.
7 runs on just 3 base hits for Gibbs Construction. A bunch of walks, wild pitches just helped move things along. So the Cardinals hang up a touchdown and an extra point in the bottom of the first inning. And through 1, it is Gibbs Construction 7 and St. Aug-based Chief Warren McDaniels nothing. Thought there, a chance to remind everybody, Joe, that today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Gibbs Construction, a leader in the construction industry in Louisiana and the Gulf Coast for more than 45 years, transforming dreams, visions, and plans into reality. Gibbs Construction. And you can't say enough about what Larry Gibbs has done for amateur baseball. As obviously his sons played the game, the things that he did to help support the construction of John Ryan Stadium for Little League Baseball, and basically, helping get that off the ground and acting as a, kind of a launch pad for that. He certainly supported our product here. He's a sponsor of this American Legion team. So many things that he has touched along the way.
Well, I think what Larry Gibbs has done is he understands his community, and he's always been involved supporting his community. The fact that he, I think his daughter now is running his construction company, and he tells me he's semi-retired, which I don't know if I believe that or not. I don't know if Larry could ever get away from it completely, but I mean he's been a long-time supporter of American Legion baseball, and way before he started sponsoring the team, but he does so much for my program at Delgado. I can't say thank you enough, and he understands the big picture, and that's about the best way I can say it.
No doubt, there's not a lot of people like him, and every community needs one like him. There's no question about that. Tyron Kirkland to lead things off for Chief McDaniels here in the top of the second inning. Kirkland, the third baseman.
Kirkland showed a big league arm on that defensive play he made in the bottom of the first. Good-looking young man.
That is ripped into left field and down for a base hit. So the first base runner of this game for McDaniels.
Again, I don't have rosters to know what grade he's in, but he's got nothing but upside. I can guarantee you that. Good-looking player.
Throw over to first base. Judah Durantale, the center fielder, will stand in. Popped up. Will it stay in the yard? right in front of the dugout.
Bertuzzi should know the real estate over
Yeah,
there.
exactly. He knows as soon as he steps on the artificial turf, he knows he's got about 2 more steps to take.
Looks like he's played there before this year. Again, he was a real good defensive player for me at Delgado, and shows exactly why right there.
So 1 out, a runner at first for Kenyon Hughes, the second baseman. Bats from the left side. Instead, a throw over.
Kind of like playing defense behind this young man on the mound, Ryan Lesh. He gets it and get rid of it. It's not a human rain delay, and he throws the ball over the plate.
Yeah.
A pretty good combination. Work fast and throw strikes, and you're normally successful.
You know, one thing, and I commented on this during the NCAA regionals last weekend, Joe, is that I just find the pace of play really across college baseball has become way too slow. And if you want to blame some of it on television, okay, you're taking 2-minute breaks in between innings instead of maybe a minute to a minute and a half. Maybe that adds a few minutes to the game, okay? But it's just, I don't know. It's, stepping out after every pitch, and the pitchers have to look at their wristband, and everybody's, it's.
Honey, you know what I think it is? It's an epidemic is what it is, because it's happening at the pro level, and these guys, whether you want to say it isn't true or not, they're going to mimic pro players. And
sure.
I mean, the paranoia of having signs stolen is at its all-time greatest. I mean, good Lord. I mean, again, a tale as old as time. I mean, they've been stealing baseball signals since the game's been invented, okay? So let's move on and play and deal with it. If you think your signs are stolen, change your signs. I mean, the armbands, I get the biggest kick out of our college umpires come out here, and a kid's got a rubber wristband on that might be representing. We wore them in honor of my sister one year, okay, when she was fighting her cancer, okay? And we had all our kids that said, hey, I would like to wear a band and recognize Emma's fight. So you take a rubber wristband off, but yet you can wear a full arm placard that's white that has pitches, some kind of coded on their arm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they can wear that. I mean, come on. Let's say, again, let's what's the total picture? If we can't get enough signals, or we can't teach our kids to protect their signals, then, I mean, come on. It's not like it's, and of course the Astros and the Red Sox got blamed for stealing signs. All right. How many people stole signs before the Astros and the Red Sox?
They were being stolen. They were being stolen some way, shape, or form. There's no doubt about it. Now they're just using technology to try to figure out a way to do it.
So
that's not even that's cheating as opposed to like finding a way to steal it.
Right. So now you become paranoid. So now guys are making millions of dollars by creating armbands that can signal in signals.
Yeah, I can remember guys like yourself, and there are others who would do it, who would sit in the dugout and watch pitchers and pick up a little nuance and could tell the difference between a fastball and a curveball.
It's still happening, Lenny.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's still being done. I'm not going to tell you that I'm not doing it. If a pitcher's going to hold the ball in front of him like this young man's doing, and he's going to tell me what he's throwing, I'm going to call that pitch. It's called baseball.
Right.
I mean, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that a guy yelled in a three single code number that I'm stealing. I'm stealing it right. It's right in front of me.
Right.
And that's the difference. I mean, the difference is deal with it. I mean, I don't know. Again, we're paranoid to the point of disgust. Just when I bragged about Lesh throwing the ball around the plate,
and he walked the guy 2-0 on the next batter, and now we've got to visit at the mound. So,
story of my life. Put the hat on. This guy reminds me of Joe Sherman when I used to play from the left. If he was batting from the left side, I'd say that's Joe Sherman his junior year in high school. Believe it or not, that's how big I was.
I remember those days. I remember those days where you could pretty much read a newspaper through you.
Mr. B. Sant, who used to be the groundskeeper here, used to call me the 90-pound weakling. Weighed about 95 pounds soaking wet.
That's high for ball 3.
and all of a sudden he's lost his own when he got in the stretch.
That's when
it started to come. He was great out of the windup. Now let's see if he goes back to the windup here, which I bet you he will, and he'll throw strikes again.
The bases loaded, 1 out, and the batter will be the extra hitter, Jackson Frazier.
DH number 11, Jackson Frazier.
That is foul back. And it's 0-1. To Frazier.
Jackson Frazier said, "You're not going to walk me."
After two straight walks. And
I'm jumping on this first pitch that you throw around the plate.
Well, again, this is, you want to see what young men can do, what pitchers can do, what hitters can do, as it's no balls and 2 strikes. That's a lot of what this is about in summer baseball, is being able to see, what people can do. They do you want to see them be able to take a strike at this point?
Well, I think, again, the key to hitting, and I was listening to Coach Schlossnagel talk at Texas A&M during their regional, which, we touched on. I love watching college baseball, but he said it's no real secret. We try to teach our guys swinging strikes and take balls, and
that's as basic as it gets.
It's a pretty good formula, isn't it?
Exactly. Ground ball, third baseman tried to come across and cut it off and could not come up with, and everybody's going to be safe.
Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and score that a base hit. That was a tough chance for Gavin.
Yeah, I don't know with the speed of Frazier going down the line, I'm not sure there was going to be a play there. So that is going to go as an infield single. Bases will remain loaded. Now a 7-1 game as Kirkland comes in to score, and the batter will be the catcher, Keegan Coulon.
Again, you can see the youth of St. Aug's players just by their size.
This is a little cue shot. No one is at first base. The first baseman came over to try to make the play on it. It fell in front of the second baseman, and just in no man's land right there. Right, we talk about the Bermuda Triangle. We usually talk about first base, second base, right field. This was first base, second base, and the mound.
He airlifted that in there perfectly. He parachuted it right through there, and I'm not really sure Bertucci should have released for that ball. I mean, I don't know if they would have had a play, but leaving first base vacant is not what you want to do on that.
So now a 7-2 game. Bases still loaded. And Jaden Jackson, the pitcher, will step in. Left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter. Ooh, that is a foul shot right towards that third base dugout, right about the spot that you're normally sitting on a spring afternoon.
I'm smart enough to get behind that pole. And you see that pole? And that pole has saved me many a day. There's a pinch runner, a courtesy runner, I guess, at first base, number 10.
And that would be Rashad Nance running down at first for Coulon. The 1-1 taken for a strike. It's 1-2.
Lenny, one of the changes in that game has been the stretch as opposed to the windup. So, if you watch this young man Lesh out of the stretch, and you watch him out of the windup, there's not a whole lot of difference where he starts from. And we had a situation, the reason I'm bringing this up, we had a situation in our regional that they brought in a pitcher who was throwing out of the stretch, and he did not announce to the pitcher whether it was a stretch or a windup. And I went to the home plate umpire and said, "Can you tell me, is he stretching or is he winding up?" I mean, you're supposed to announce now whether you're stretching or winding up. That's how crazy the game has changed.
Swing and a miss. Jackson chased an outside fastball right there for strike 3, and there's 2 gone.
They had a rule in for about a year before they changed it that your toes had a point at home plate when you were winding up. So your feet could not point to the baselines. They had to point directly to home plate. That rule lasted 1 year, which to me made more sense than any rule that they have made in the last 5 or 6 years. It's pretty self-explanatory. If your toes aren't pointing to the plate, you're stretching. End of argument.
1-0 pitch. Fouled over towards the third base dugout, and it's 1-1. Big spot here for Bacchus. Back at the top of the order, grounded out the short his first time up.
Yeah, they can get
Base
back.
hit makes this a little more interesting. 7-2 could become 7-4. Find a gap, maybe 7-5.
And I'm sure this young man's on a pitch count. He's stretched his pitch count out. That center fielder is playing as shallow.
And the right fielder as well. Both playing very, very shallow.
Walker Bazile, he's playing, I would say, 14, 15-year-old center field right there.
I was about to say, if you had a softball diamond laid out here, he may not be on the other side of the fence. Popped up, center fielder now going to retreat. And he will make the play.
He almost
to
had a
retire
retreat.
to the side. Yeah, exactly. As far in as he was, no doubt about it. So, 2 runs in the inning on 1, 2, 3 base hits, a couple of walks, and McDaniels leaves the bases loaded. So we've played an inning and a half. Your new score is Gibbs Construction 7 and Chief McDaniels 2. Monty Van Gilder, Joe Sherman here with you at Crescent Stadium, Rag Sherman Field. And it looks like we're going to get a new pitcher on. That is going to be Channing Cornelius, the right-hander, is going to come on to start things in the bottom of the second. We saw him warming up down the way in the bottom of the first. He was maybe 1 pitch away from getting into the game in the first inning, but instead he's going to start the second.
Channing sporting that new look in baseball with the leggings and the pants rolled up. Again, old school Joe Sherman, not a big fan of, but you see it everywhere.
So switch from the lefty to the righty, Cornelius. Yeah, it's above, pants are above the knee. Yeah,
it's shorts. It's shorts. Remember the White Sox wore the shorts?
Yep.
When I was a young man?
Yep.
What goes around comes around. Huh?
I guess so.
Those were, by the way, the ugliest uniforms
I
ever remember in my life.
Wow. Look, you and I grew up in the 70s. What in the world were we thinking with some of these things?
The Astros, Coach Brockhoff adopted the Astro look when I was a player at Tulane. And, boy, some of the ribbon we used to take on the road about those uniforms. If I had
look, but you know what? But everything old comes back.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'd like to see Tulane break those back out for a game, auction them off, whatever you want to do. Someone out there would pay for a set of those uniforms.
The greatest line I ever heard, though, Lenny, we were playing in Riverside, California. I was coaching third base, and one of the guys in the third base hecklers was all over us. And then about the third inning, he came up with this. Hey, 2-0, who sponsors your team? Don Carter's? At first, not being a bowler, I didn't know what he was talking about. I went back in the dugout and I told Brian Migliori, I said, the guy asked me if Don Carter sponsors our team. He goes, he thinks you're wearing a bowling uniform.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we head to the second and back around to the top of the order, and Bryce Babin, who walked and scored in the first inning. The Cardinals played 4 games last weekend at UNO as part of a tournament out there, went 3-0-1. Babin was 3 for 7, or check that, 3 for 4 in 7 plate appearances.
You don't get cheated. That was a rip right there. Came out of his shoes to swing at that fastball. Chalmette's program has really had tremendous success.
We were out there as he takes that one off the leg, hit by a pitch. We did a game out there in April, late in the regular season. They hosted Lutcher.
After the tornado.
Right after the tornado, and it was a terrific event. We're going to see Kate Prejean pinch hitting here for Pell.
One of my guys.
chance to step in here. Ball one.
Cade had a great freshman year for us. Played him a little bit in left, a little bit at short, a little bit at third. Did a great job of getting on base for us.
That's the new way of the world, really. I mean, I guess it's that you talk about things trickling down from the pro level. That's what you've got to do at the major league level now, because the rosters are what they are, and they're carrying so many pitchers. Oh, by the way, I'm not a fan of that, but you've got to have, because you've only got maybe 3 or 4 extra players on your roster on a given night. You've got to have guys who can play multiple positions out there.
They're carrying extra pitches, and yet position players are still finishing games.
Well, there's that, yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, you know, Lenny, I will say this about pro baseball. They talk about the pace of play and everything. The pro game, as it is now, minus the stolen base, it's very similar to college baseball.
Mm-hmm. On the ground to third. Long throw across in time. I tell you what. You mentioned in the first inning, Kirkland's got a nice arm over there at third base.
Yes, he does. I mean, the college game, you know, you watched this past weekend, the LSU regional. How many stolen base attempts did they have in that region? Very few. Very, very few.
That one, yeah. And there's some teams that still use it, you know, and still make it a big part of their game. As that is hit on the ground, foul past the bag at third. Southeastern, for instance. Yeah. McNeese.
It's hard to use it, though, when the score doesn't dictate
well,
it.
That's exactly right. Sometimes you've got a big lead, or sometimes you're trailing, so it can't. You know.
That's the problem. I mean, the problem is that everything's geared off to the 3-run homer or the big fly, as everybody refers to it, and it's really changing the game.
O'Neill went the other way nicely, and that's going to split him and head to the right center field wall, and O'Neill is going to go in standing at third with a triple.
Nice piece of hitting right there. Pitch was on the outer third, and O'Neill kept his front side closed and drove it right through that gap.
So Babbins scores on the play to make it 8-2, and now O'Neill is 90 feet away, and Cam Sr. will step in. Sr. singled and scored back in the first inning.
I talked to Cam earlier today. He says, "Coach, I feel like a week-old cake. I'm stale." You know, and it's going to take a little while before you can really, you know, get back into the flow of things. When you take as much time away from the game as Cam has, and literally almost a year since he saw live pitching, it's quite an adjustment to make. And I think summer baseball is going to be very, very big for Cam.
You see that a lot of times, and you've seen it happen within your collegiate league as well. Maybe guys are coming from programs where they didn't get a lot of at-bats, didn't get a lot of innings, and all of a sudden they blossom in the summer when they get that chance. Maybe it takes them a couple of appearances or outings to get things going, but then when they do, you know, they get the chance to develop. One guy that always comes to mind when it comes to that is Kurt Ainsworth. Yeah. He had pitched maybe 6 innings in the spring, and he came in here and was, you know.
So I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you a little story about Ainsworth. So we were, as a walk to senior. So we were in the regional at Baton Rouge, and we went to hit at the Marucci facility. And while we were hitting, Kurt came over and obviously chatted it up with us. And I asked him to speak to the team. But Kurt Ainsworth is the epitome of opportunity. Okay, so here's a young man. There's a drive.
Marucci hits one into the gap in left center field. It's going to hold up long enough that the left fielder runs it down nicely. Second time we've seen Owens do that tonight. Run scores on the sacrifice fly, and it is a 9-2 game.
So Kurt Ainsworth, coming off of Tommy John surgery as a high school senior, didn't have a whole lot of opportunity. In fact, a person, Mr. Otto Schultz, who was our longtime volunteer statistician, came to me and said, "Hey, I got a friend of mine's grandson who wants to play in the All-American League." Long story short, it turns out to be Kurt Ainsworth. Well, Ainsworth got his start right there in our Collegiate All-American League. By the end of the summer, he was lights out for us. I mean, and I remember sitting in the airport in Pittsburgh, and he said to me, "Coach, if I don't get an opportunity to play at LSU, would you give me a chance at Delgado?" I said, "Kurt, if you don't play at LSU, I'll come piggyback you from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. I mean, that's how sure I am you're going to pitch for LSU. He goes, you really think so? I said, absolutely. Long story short, I got home and
a nice play on that pop up by the catcher.
That ball got him in the face.
It got it. Oh, it did the toe. I didn't make the play there.
Yeah.
I thought he made the play on that
one. Backspin came right over the top of the mitt.
Mm. Hopefully he is okay.
Coach Scott Stays is down there. There's another story for later in the game as well. But so getting back to the Ainsworth, as this young man's being looked after. Ainsworth, I called Coach Bertman. I said, Coach, you got a young man coming into your program I'm not even sure you're aware of. Kurt Ainsworth, he's going to be a talent for you. He goes, you really think so? And Kurt tells the story as he's speaking to this team. He said he goes into the office when he gets to LSU, and Coach Bertman says, hey, this Joe Sherman guy thinks you can really pitch. He goes, if you half as good as he thinks you're going to be, we're going to be all right. Long story short, ends up being their ace, ends up pitching on the U.S. Olympic team, winning a gold medal with the
Ben Sheets,
Ben
right?
Sheets.
Yep.
And then gets drafted and plays for the San Francisco Giants. I'm at the World Series, sitting next to his wife and his dad at the World Series when he's a San Francisco Giant. So really a neat story. Then what happens? Fortune follows him again. He gets involved in a Marucci Bat Company, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Smart investment.
Yeah. Smart investment by a smart man who had a great plan. And Marucci's enterprise is really a benefit of his insight.
So the good news is the catcher is okay. The count is 1-2 on Kerner, who will step back in.
I think what happened was Keegan Coulon took his eye off just a split second because of the backstop, and the ball lost the ball.
Looking for the backstop.
Yep.
Pop up, taken in by the shortstop, and that will take care of things here in the second inning. 2 runs on 1 hit. 1 runner is left on base, and 2 complete here at Kersherney with your score. The Gibbs Construction Cardinals 9, Chief Warren McDaniels 2. And it gives us a chance to remind everybody that today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Ochsner Sports Medicine Institute. Get the same sports medicine care the pros receive with minimally invasive treatments and quicker recovery times. Visit Ochsner.org/sportsmed to learn more or schedule an appointment near you. I know Ochsner's been a big part of your program.
No doubt about it. I tell you, I tell everybody the number one thing that we can give you is health care. Our doctors, we have the luxury of having Dr. Choate as our team doctor, and obviously, he's the team doctor for the New Orleans Saints, and then Dr. Leslie is kind of our everyday go-to guy as far as the other side of it. But, I mean, those 2 gentlemen have been instrumental in our health care. I mean, through this COVID situation, Dr. Leslie couldn't have been more valuable than he was our most valuable player, no doubt. I mean, the protocol that he set up for us and the practice and the testing that we did throughout COVID really was second to none, and something that I'll never be able to say thank you to him enough for, on top of also taking care of my family through it all. So he's been a godsend.
Top half of the third, Amato and steps in to lead things off for the St. Aug-based Chief McDaniels team. Foul back to the screen.
Ahmad's made 2 nice running catches in left field. Again, a young man that's got nothing but upside.
This is a St. Aug program, and obviously won, a first-round series again. Got to the quarterfinals, took, they went to St. Paul's, won 2 in a row, took Brother Martin to 3 games, so they were 1 win away from getting to the Division I semifinals this year.
Well, I think that Brother Martin St. Aug series had as much electricity as you could possibly have
no doubt.
in a high school baseball. And again, I was talking about the competitive edge when we first got on. That's something you can't teach, Lenny. I mean, you can't put kids in situations in the summer that series right there taught these young men more in defeat than you could even teach in victory.
Oh, no doubt. Both ways. You get it on both sides. There's no question about that. And look, I think those two quarterfinal series that we saw in the New Orleans area, as Troy Brown steps in after the strikeout of Owens. Brown grounded back to the mound his first time up. It takes a strike. It's 0-1. Those two quarterfinal series that we saw, going 3 games, very competitive baseball. And look, you could say what you will about whether the Catholic League was maybe a little bit down this year or, whatever, but it was well-played, highly competitive games across the board. You did not see a bunch of, blowouts out there, really.
No. I mean, parity is everywhere. I mean, you see it everywhere you look. High school, college. I mean, the fact that this bat has equalized a lot of things. The new bat and the testings of the new bat. It's not at the high school level yet, Lenny, but we test before every series at the junior college level as well as at the Division I level. So I think you see the true test and the true abilities of an athlete. Whereas before, who knows what was going on with the bats? I don't even want to begin to speculate. But
wow.
The fact that now you're testing and your kids know that you're playing an equal opponent with equipment goes a long way.
Yeah, as that's fouled off. Count holds at no balls and 2 strikes. What do you attribute the sudden increase in offensive output on the college level to? Is it bats? Is it balls?
They're playing with a rabbit ball. I mean, I think that's pretty evident. I mean, it's definitely not the bat because the bat's being tested. And
a swing and a miss there, and back-to-back striklightouts.
The compression of a bat is the compression of a bat. We haven't measured the compression of these new baseballs. I think they got a batch of rabid baseballs. And then here's the other thing, Lenny. Almost every college stadium in the last 10 years has moved their fences in. Other than, and I'm not really sure, Tulane in the new configuration, did they move? Because it used to be a very rounded
It hasn't.
fence.
It hasn't. The only thing that's slightly changed there, and we should mention, by the way, there's a new pitcher in the game for Gibbs. That is Cole Bordes, who came on to start this inning, number 22. And he's got the first 2 strikeouts here. Bordes out of Rummel, senior this year, and he's unsigned. Ground ball to first. He's going to, about to say he's going to have a 1-2-3 inning. He's still going to have he couldn't hang on to it. That was a good play to cover, but everything got kind of thrown out of whack there with the bobble by the first baseman, and that will put a runner at first with 2 outs. So almost a 1-2-3
Do you
inning.
give the error to Cole, or do you give the error to Bertuzzi?
I think the first baseman started all of that. It was a if that bobble doesn't happen, everything doesn't get hurried. But
if his glove doesn't come off, is he out?
Who knows? Who knows? There's a lot of things there.
I think a jump ball, okay.
Yeah. You go to what happened first as Judah Durantale steps in, snap throw to first after the first pitch.
So, we were talking about the dimensions of the baseball fields.
Yeah, the only thing that got tweaked at Tulane, I think, along the way is they brought in when they put in a new scoreboard, they brought in the left center field fence, maybe 3 feet.
Yeah, because I can remember when that place was built, I was an assistant coach, and the fence used to curve. They made a very distinct curve from foul pole to center.
And they may have shortened some things along the way, but again, that's been since 2008. Here's the big thing, though, that's happened in a lot of these parks that are getting built. Some of it is the outfield dimensions, but some of it is bringing the fans closer to the field as much as you can. So now all those foul outs that would have happened now end up in the stands and extended bats.
Look what I've done here. I mean, I've taken probably 70% of our foul territory away in which the most obvious section to take it away. The last 25 to 30 feet, we've angled our fences in where balls have come to die in the past are now out of play. So you see that very, very evident here, and that goes along. You prolong at bats and you prolong batting averages and the rest.
Making pitchers throw more pitches.
No
It
doubt.
just there's so many things. As the runner was on the move, Durantale took called strike 3. That will wrap up the inning. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and 1 left. So this is a 9-2 game as we head now to the bottom of the 3rd inning. But just to finish that thought, I mean, you see baseball is getting tested at some point, or at some point do you say, you know what, offense may be good for the game, maybe people, I'm not sure it's totally good for the game. I don't think watching a 29 to 15 game like we saw on Sunday.
I don't think you'll ever get to the point where baseballs will be tested. But I will tell you this: I think the restriction of a baseball and the construction of the baseball will definitely be questioned. I mean, we questioned the construction of a bat, and how that was made. I mean, why wouldn't we question the baseball? And again, there's a lot of things that we have control of. That we can control. I don't know how controlling you can be of that, but I'll know this: the numbers are up since they went to the flat seam baseball. The numbers are up. They thought the flat seam baseball would increase, some exit speeds off the bat.
It's too much.
For years and years, they talked about, man, the new park in Omaha is a pitcher's haven. Nobody can hit a home run. Nobody can do this. All of a sudden, those numbers are changing since they went to the flat seam ball. So I think they've taken a little advantage away from the pitches with that. The breaking ball is less prevalent and less, and harder to throw with the new baseball. So I think that's something that can be addressed. I know this, Lenny. People don't come to the games to see 1-0 games, and
most of the average. John Q. Public, you're right, doesn't. I mean, you and I would love a 1-0 game as much,
But I'll tell you this. And I know I'm comparing apples to oranges, okay? But the pace of play of a junior college baseball game as opposed to a Division I baseball game, you can ask Kenny Trahan. He did every one of our home games. We play fast baseball here. We don't have the armbands and we don't have the 3 cards on the forearm. And I mean, it's all about what you teach and how you approach the game and the pace of play. I mean, what's right, what's wrong? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On to the bottom of the 3rd as Walker Bazile steps in. Channing Cornelius begins his 2nd inning of work. Bazile first pitch swinging, fouls it out of play. Look, it's there's so many ways to look at these things. Obviously, I mean, you look at it from a hitter's point of view, you look at it from a pitcher's point of view, you look at it from a fan's point of view, and I think the one thing that baseball really needs to try to do, whatever it is it's trying to do, is do things that embrace a younger generation. Because obviously, I mean,
let me tell you this. There's a thing that's influencing the college game more than anything that anybody wants to give it credit for. It's called TrackMan.
No doubt.
TrackMan is no good for college baseball for a couple reasons. Let me tell you why. Number one, it gives people access to information that they normally would not be able to get.
And Bazile hits that one over the head of the center fielder. It'll be run down, but not before he pulls in with a double.
Okay, so
yeah, you're right. You're giving a lot of scouting information to begin with.
Yeah, so that's number one. Number two, the umpires are so conscious of TrackMan that their zone is shrinking and making it harder for pitchers to throw strikes. Now, let me tell you, I'm the number one supporter that a strike is a strike and a ball is a ball, okay? But when you shrink the strike zone because you're worried how you're going to grade, your zone's going to be even smaller than it should be. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody's talking about the computer umpire. God, if they ever make that mistake, shame on them. Because you think the game's slow now? Just wait. I mean, look how many times we went to replay in the regionals this weekend, almost disgustingly amount of times.
I see it happening. Look, it's it's happening in not just say the SEC out there. It's happening in just about every major conference. And what it is now is instead of the umpires at least they did it in the SEC tournament. They did it in the did it in the regionals. Is that is fouled off by Gavin Tranchina to count as a ball and 2 strikes. You've got the folks at DV Sport in Pittsburgh, that's where they're operating these things from.
Well, they're trying to speed it up a little bit.
No, they are doing that, and they're sitting there making the decisions, unlike an umpire sitting there looking at a screen and going in and making a decision.
But I'm going to say this, Lenny, and again, I'm not trying to point fingers, but if the ultimate goal is to get it right, then get it right. You talk to the umpires, and they'll tell you, our ultimate goal is to get the call right. So I'm watching the Michigan-Louisville game, and if you watch the replay, it's a no-brainer that the guy is out. I mean, it can't get any simpler than that. Did they change the call? No, they did not.
Nope.
They did not. So they called it. They let the call stand, and then what goes from the inning-ending call at second base
extends the inning, and Louisville ends up winning the game.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, if replay is going to be used, use it to get it right. Don't use it sometimes to get it right. Use it to get it right. And here's the other side of replay. And I'll be critical about this. Southern Miss had 2 cameras doing their regional.
Oh, well, I don't know how many were getting fed in, but they had,
But I mean, it wasn't an ESPN production.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Whereas
everything is not on the. That's the thing. Everything is not on the same level, but that's not unlike the NFL. You got to, if you're the game that's going to 4% of the country, you might have 7 cameras. But if you're on Monday Night Football, you might have 30.
But if you're going to have replay, you should have a camera on every base that shows something that you can make a decision on.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think it's equal at all the facilities. That's
I think you're right there, and I think that's the case in.
And I know I'm rambling and the game's going on and people are saying, what are you rambling about? But I'm going to say this. I worked the NCAA regional at Arizona last year, okay? I'm going to tell you the 4 teams in the Arizona regional last year, 3 of them did not use replay during the regular year. The coaches did not know, number one, what could be replayed and what couldn't be replayed. Right. Now, I think as we use replay, that education will grow.
Right,
okay?
and it's obviously getting used by more. Alexander was hit by the pitch. He'll be replaced by a courtesy runner here, and that will be Cohen Veron running down at first base as the bases are loaded here with nobody out for Bryce Coe. But to go, no, you're right.
Let's continue the conversation. So I'm watching the regionals this weekend, and there's an appeal play as a drive to center field.
Center fielder makes the catch. Runner tags at third. He's coming home.
Save.
And now they'll try to advance, and that's going to get away at third base, and the second run is going to come home. So it'll be a sacrifice fly, and an E2 will allow the second run to score on the play. Along with a runner now at second base. So it is now an 11-2 ball game.
So I'm watching the regionals this past weekend. They had an appeal play at one of the regionals, and you could read the umpire's lips that is not a reviewable call. And it's wrong. It is a reviewable call, but you have to make the appeal first to make it a reviewable call. So there's umpires out there that don't know the procedure.
Right.
And I'm sitting there talking to the TV. And
they reviewed like at the I believe they reviewed a situation in the LSU Southern Miss game.
Yes, they did.
But they didn't
have a camera to show the catch and sync it up at the same time.
Exactly. And if they did, they might have, that was interesting. Yeah. You may not have had the ability to sync. I don't know. Yeah. But again, everybody's got
that's what I'm saying.
So everybody's got different technology.
So if DV Sports going to be the guy, then DV Sports has got to get into those 16 regionals and make it equal for everybody.
Yeah.
That's my.
And some of that,
know,
and
so
some
like,
of that is cameras. There are cameras that are just
so
there
I work
for
the Sugar
replay.
Bowl. I work the Sugar Bowl every year. I sit there and I hear the producers talk to the replay officials 2 days prior to the game. This is what we're going to have. This is the cameras we're going to have. This is so they know exactly what they're dealing with. That's not happening at college baseball level.
No. On the ground, base hit. Runner will score from third to make this a 12-2 ball game as Babin delivers the single through the left side to score the courtesy runner Veron from third base. No, you're absolutely right. I think that's the case at any level. And obviously, look, the opportunity for replay, if there is a missed call, some way, shape, or form, having the opportunity to be able to correct it is great. But everything's not going to be consistent. Some of that is just infrastructure. Yeah, maybe you've got a high camera above first base at this stadium, but you know what? At this stadium, based on the way the stadium's built, you can't put a high camera at first base. We got a high camera at third base in this stadium. So everything is not exactly the same. That's one of the beauties of baseball, especially at ballparks, as we know. This is not like football or basketball where every football field is 100 yards long and 53 yards wide, and every basketball field, every basketball court's 94 feet long, 50 feet wide. You've got, but baseball, it's not. Everything is different, and obviously a lot of these things have to go in the stands, off the field of play, and it all depends on what's out there as well.
The biggest, there's another
There's
chopper
ground
to
ball
third.
third. He needs to take the short one there in front of him and make sure he gets the one out, and he does. It's a good play.
I think after he threw that last ball away, a little tentative to throw it to second to try to get around the horn double play there, so to make sure.
Yeah,
I'll play it safe and take the out.
I'm going to take the out right in front of me. That was a smart play. So O'Neill is on the fielder's choice. So runners at first and second, 2 out for Cam Sr.
Seems like Cam Sr. comes up every 3 batters.
Well,
man.
just
They
about.
rush-
So it's let's see. It's the third inning, and he's batted 3 times already. He's singled and
I've
scored
talked
and
about him
walked.
more in this game than I've talked to him all year. It's good to see him back on the field, though. Worried about him a little bit early in the fall, to be honest. Not really sure if anybody knew exactly what the problem was.
It's a strike. It's 1-1. Yeah, but you look. I mean, some of the times of these games. I mean, you had easily 4-hour, 9-inning games. I think the Texas A&M TCU game.
Mm-hmm.
I think was a 9-inning game. It went 5 hours.
How about the Oklahoma State game?
Oh,
they were on the field on elimination Saturday. They were on the field 10.5 hours. Played 2 games.
Yep.
10.5 hours of baseball. I mean, they were losing 12-0 and came back
29-15. It was, and then came back again. And was it 14-10 in extra innings against Arkansas? Yeah.
If they were a truck driver, they wouldn't have been able to drive their truck.
They would have shut it down. And look, one of the things. Speaking of which, there's one thing. You had a game out here, a game that we did with this crew of Chip Merritt, our producer, Matt Merritt on camera. That Brother Martin Jesuit game this year. On a Thursday night that didn't end until 11:30 at night. As the ground ball to short, throw across in time to get the final out here of the third inning. I'll hold that thought and finish it up in a minute. But 3 runs score for Gibbs in the bottom of the third. We're through 3 complete. It's Gibbs Construction, the Cardinals 12, and it's St. Aug-based Chief Warren McDaniels 2 here on Crescent City Sports. To remind you that today's game on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex in Kenner. Lamarck Lincoln is the only Lincoln black label dealership in the market. It's more than ownership, it's membership. Must be a reason. So one of the things that I know at least has been discussed since that happened is maybe on school nights there needs to be a curfew of some kind within these sporting events, like whether it's baseball, maybe it's no inning after. I don't know. It's at 10:30, on a school night, whatever the case may be. Because I mean, obviously, you got to imagine those young men probably never got to bed until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. By the time they got home, got some food in their stomachs, got showered, whatever it was. It was, it was a long night. And they had to turn around and be at school at 8 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that, people don't realize the sacrifices that student athletes make, not at every level, not only at the high school level, but at the collegiate level. And, not only we all see the contest and the games, but it's the preparation for the contest and the games and the sacrifices they make training themselves and lifting weights. And, I mean, it's a job. And, very few get rewarded for the job that they have taken on since their freshman year in high school. With the likes of NIL, I guess a few more are being rewarded a little differently. But I mean, it's a business.
It's the NIL situation on the junior college level as Kenyon Hughes steps in.
Thank God you didn't ask that. I don't know. I know how it exists at Delgado. It's non-existent. So I hope it stays that way for.
Here's what can happen there. I would think
unless our friends at Hooters maybe want to sponsor one of our guys, and I'm just kidding. But
it could be if you sign a player who happens to be has built up a social media following from something other than baseball, and then all of a sudden they've got to say they have to shut it down while they're in college. I agree with the concept that you should be able to, it's your name, your image, and your likeness. You should be able to benefit from it.
I'm not going to mention any names, Lenny, because I don't know if this is fact. But I'm told there are schools out there in the baseball world that are guaranteeing that their players will get anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 for NIL. I mean, and how can you? There's a nice little job.
Base hit to left field.
Nice little job of hitting right there. Pitch low and away, and he just slaps it right over the third baseman's head.
Hughes walked and scored back in the second. Now singles here to lead off the fourth as Kenny Rhodes, the shortstop, will step in.
How do you compete with that? I mean, you can't. And that's the unfortunate thing.
From school to school, yes, but what that is now allowing, on some level, I guess colleges to do, is they can now compete with minor league baseball.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and they're going to compete with minor league baseball. If you can tell a junior who gets drafted in round 13 that he's going to make $150,000 if he comes back to school A, then that's that much more money minor league baseball or major league baseball is going to have to put into that young man's pocket. Mm-hmm. It's going to make his decision a lot easier.
Sure.
I mean, and that's the bottom line. But the sad truth of that, again, all this stems back to the rich are going to get richer. I mean, the good programs are going to be the ones that attract that type of player. The good programs are going to be the ones that attract that kind of money, and the guys on the bottom of the food chain are going to get passed by even faster now than the old freight train. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, I just say this: the NCAA has a heck of a hard time enforcing the rules that they can enforce. How in the heck are they going to ever be able to control this NIL is beyond me. They're not going to be able to control it, and they're going to run away from it just like they've run away from numerous other rules that they ran away from.
Rhodes strikes out. That is now 4 strikeouts here in relief for Bordes.
It's crazy for me to even begin to fathom that I can be guaranteed $150,000 if I come play ball for you. I mean, that just mind boggles me. I mean, and it's happening. It's happening, and it's happening at more than one school. I mean, in football, if it's $150,000 in baseball, what do you think it is in college football at some of these schools? I mean, it's absolutely. It's going to be out of control.
No balls and 2 strikes to Frazier.
We already saw some of the feedback from the 2 coaches in the SEC about that. Got into not a very nice discussion with each other.
Right. Used to be on the same staff right up the river in Baton Rouge once upon a time. Strike 3 call.
I don't think they're going to be sharing Christmas cards anytime.
I don't know. I think it's some of that. The one thing about the whole Saban end of it is he was sitting in a room full of high-end donors, paid like $5,000 a piece to be at an event for the World Games in Birmingham. Is that as a strike to Keegan Coulon? And guess what? Probably just about every one of those people was an Alabama fan. And I think it was probably, and Deion Sanders was the one that made this point after the fact. He's not talking to Jimbo Fisher. He's talking to his fans and realize, hey, we need more money coming in for this stuff.
Right.
So it's, one thing, over the course of years, seeing Nick Saban, even going back to his LSU days and then obviously since then, is he has a way to communicate his message sometimes. You may not always agree with how he communicates it, but he's going to communicate his message.
Yeah, so this is a new catcher. This is Skylar Green hitting.
No, they did make a change there, yet. He came in, and that is the final out here. As Green, who came in to replace Coulon at catcher, makes the final out of the fourth inning. No runs, a hit, no errors, and one man left. As we head to the bottom of the fourth inning, it is still Gibbs 12 and McDaniels 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point that someone's making here. And what's going to lend itself to, Lenny, is dividing of the club. I mean, so how do you, the starting quarterback's getting $250,000, I'm only getting $75,000? I mean, that's not fair.
No.
I'm not going to block for him.
No, well, it's,
and I mean, we're
right.
throwing that out there.
But it's honestly it's
going to happen.
It's professionalizing the game. It's not up until now. Everybody has basically been on the same playing field in college sports, and now it's not going to be. But it's no different than in the pros when the quarterback's making $25 million and the right guard is making $1.5 million. That's
but is it amateur sports?
Oh, I think
those days are over.
I think that ship has sailed, and it's like I've said for a long time. High school sports is the last bastion of amateur athletics.
I mean, you got NIL in high school.
You do because
which I can't support. I can't go for the fact that can happen.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I think it becomes a situation that if you try to stop it, you're going to get it's going to get challenged, and you can't defend it at that point.
Well, at some point, some court is going to have to say what the definition of amateurism is.
Sure.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
And it could trickle all the way down.
Whether it's the Supreme Court or it's the district court or whatever.
Right.
But the definition of amateurism is definitely not as we know it.
Oh, well.
I mean, and let's just say this.
Well,
I don't, I'm speaking from the guy that's on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to NIL, okay? I mean, and thankfully so, all right? I couldn't be more happy that that's the case. But I will tell you this, it's a 10-headed monster that I don't think if you cut 9 heads off, it's going to kill it. I mean, it's not going away.
Yeah.
It's not going away, and it's going to be here, and it's not going to not only is it not going away, it's ungovernable.
It really is. That's one of the challenges, and it's part of it is like you said. It's that 800-pound gorilla out there that's not only is it not going away, but you can put certain things out there, and even then, how are you going to be able to govern those things? Ground ball to short, high throw to first, and Bertucci will re-space on the error by the shortstop. So Logan has now been on a couple of times this evening. He doubled in 2 runs back in that 7-run first inning. That was probably the biggest hit of the inning. Came around to score, drove in a 3rd run on a sacrifice fly in the 2nd, and now leads off the 4th here by reaching on the E6th. And Kerner will step in. He has walked and scored and popped out.
I think we got another new pitcher too for.
If they shuffled things around here.
So can't get the young man's number, but it looks to be in.
We'll get a look here in just a minute as Kerner takes a strike. So that may be Owens in pitching now. He was in left field, so may have shuffled some things around in terms of position players, but that is Owens now on the mound. Back to the screen and move the runner up to second base on the wild pitch. All right, we're down to 16 in Division I college baseball. Tennessee or the field at this point? Who you got?
I'm not going to pull for Tennessee. I'm going to pull for someone other. I mean, I just everybody's got Tennessee already holding the trophy up, so I'm just going to be the guy that says that they're not just because I can. Not that I think they're a very good club. Obviously, I will say this: I think Tennessee outside of their ballpark is a different club.
I don't disagree there.
So I think once they get through the supers, up in Omaha, you'll see a different Tennessee baseball team. Although, my God, they are definitely built to win the national championship. You got velocity on the mound, you got power at the plate, you got skilled positions who can play at almost every position. That's pretty impressive stuff. But
no doubt.
The bottom line to all of it, let's for sake of argument, let's pick a dark horse. Let's pick Virginia Tech. And you know why I'm gonna pick Virginia Tech? Because one of my former players is the recruiting coordinator there and the third base coach. How about that?
No kidding.
Yeah, the young man that I signed out of Pennsylvania, Kirk Elbin, was at Virginia Commonwealth and left VCU to go to Virginia Tech and is the recruiting coordinator and the third base coach. So that's my rooting interest.
There you go. John Sheff, who was an assistant coach at UL Lafayette back in days when Coach Robichaux was still with us, went on to be the head coach at Maryland and is now the head coach at Virginia Tech.
Yep. And he brought Kirk over with him when he was at Virginia. Lenny, how about you and I can appreciate. How about that facility at Virginia Tech? Do you remember?
They could. Well, I guess it was the last year you were. No, it was the year after you left Tulane. Virginia Tech hosted the Metro Conference tournament, and they had to play it at a minor league park in Salem, Virginia, because their facility on campus was.
God, I remember that place.
Well, Louisville the same way.
Yeah.
You look at Louisville. Louisville's place was an absolute dump. They hosted at the minor league park at the old. The old Cardinal Stadium, which was on the fairgrounds. Yeah. Now they've got a new football stadium, a new baseball stadium. They got a new minor league baseball stadium.
I'm going to tell you, that Virginia Tech facility, from watching it on TV, is as well constructed as any facility there is in America.
And that was the point I made a few weeks ago, right after the change happened to Tulane. We have a pinch hitter in here with
Andrew Bradley is a pinch hitter.
All right. So Bradley pinch hitting for Tranchina here with the bases loaded and nobody out. And I know you're going to know where I'm going with this story about, you get to the Kentucky Derby because you and I have followed that sport and everybody's trying, right? Well, there was a while there in college baseball that I want to say everybody wasn't trying, but everybody wasn't trying as hard as some others.
Well,
you got more people trying in college baseball now. And
speaking of trying,
that's that's the thing. You've got where maybe 20 schools had a chance to win a national championship in a given year. Now maybe 50? I mean, at least at the start of the year, there's that many more people that have reinvested, in the arms race and built nice facilities, and they're putting the money into their program that never existed before now.
It's amazing, like you said, how parity has taken over in college baseball.
And it's not just geography either. That was the other thing. No. Geography played a big factor. Yeah. You had to be in a warm weather area. Well, look at the schools that hosted this year.
I'm going to tell you this. Yeah. Hill Denson, okay? Hill Denson, when I was working at Tulane, was in the Metro with Southern Mississippi, and I'll never forget at a coaches convention in Atlanta, during a snowstorm, or ice storm, whatever you want to call it, had probably 30 coaches in a little area talking about we need to make the schedule. We need to change the traditional baseball schedule. We need to push it back. We need to play in June and have our championships in May. And everybody looked at him like he had 9 heads. And what they have done is exactly that.
They've cheated it back a little, but not a lot. It's kind of you've got
and they limited how early you could start.
Right. They've only allowed 3 weeks, so you really lose. So, you can't start until that third Friday in February. You can only practice 3 weeks before that,
which to me is a big plus for the northern schools.
Yeah, and that is strike three, a swing and a miss there. But for the first out here in the bottom of the fourth, one of the guys that you faced a long time ago in Johnstown, Randy Mazey, who's the head coach at a lot of places. West Virginia now is that's Cohen Veron will step in. He was a courtesy runner for Alexander back in the third inning. But he wanted to make some really radical changes. He was leading the movement to let's play into July. Let's start the season in mid-March and finish it in finish it up maybe even after the 4th of July. Let the College World Series start on the 4th of July.
And I'm not sure that that's far away, Lenny, because I'm going to tell you, to be quite honest with you, summer baseball at the collegiate level is slowly becoming a thing of the past. So, you look at a league like the Cape, who traditionally have been 2 weeks in by now.
Right, that is going to drop in the right field for a base hit. Station-to-station baseball. Wait, now here comes the runner around third. He's going to try and score and was going to be out, but the throw bounced in at home, and 2 runs end up scoring on the play. It's now 14-2.
The thing about it is, I want to take another look at this play. I guess.
We'll take another look. You can see here, this is just going to comes off the bat and looks like maybe it's going to carry out a little farther, but instead it drops right in front of the right fielder. And the runners, which you don't see there, the runner for third had to come home because the runner at second was on his tail headed towards third base. And a good throw, and he was going to be out at the plate. So they're at the corners with 1 out for Bryce Coe, who's looking for his first hit, but he does have an RBI to sacrifice fly his last time up.
Walker Bazile on that play did not do a good job, obviously, of picking up the runner in front of him. He ran with his head down and ran on top of the runner, and Coach Reamy had to send the runner in. I don't think he wanted to, but when he saw Walker on top of him, he sent him in.
7 runs in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, 2 so far here in the fourth for Gibbs. 2-1 pitch is up high for ball 3. Now, the game has definitely changed over the course of the last 40 years, and that's what I had written about. It was 40 years ago. This is when I really began to follow the sport of college baseball, and you saw what things were then and where they are now. And some of the players are still the same in all of this, but so many more are a factor in this that would have never been before. I mean, you look at the old Metro. I made the point. You had this past weekend, as Babin is due, but that is a pinch hitter. That's Noah Detillier batting. And the run will score on the wild pitch, and everybody will move up 90 feet. So you remember the days of the old Metro. Well, Virginia Tech, Louisville, and Southern Miss all hosted regionals. Southern Miss, and we were talking about back then, Southern in the 80s, Southern Miss didn't have lights.
Yeah, that's correct.
Certainly didn't have that stadium that they have now.
Lenny, when I played my first fall game at Southern Miss, the band was practicing in right field where the old baseball field was. It was on the corner of the football stadium, on the corner of Highway 49 and whatever street that was, and literally we were playing a fall baseball game, and the Southern Miss marching band was practicing in right field. That's how far we've come. Now they have a tremendous turf field.
It's a beautiful facility.
Hill Field at Pete Taylor Park has been turfed. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I mean, couldn't be happier for Coach. I get a little connection there. Coach Berry was at Meridian for years and years with Coach Palmer, and then took over Coach Palmer's position there as a base hit and RBI.
Prejean will pick up the single and the RBI and make this now a 17-2 game. So 5 runs in here in the bottom of the fourth, as we are seemingly destined for a run roll here, which would be anything. 10 after 4.5 will end it.
But, yeah, there's so much that has happened. And God, you know, I speak with Hill Denson almost twice a week and really have become very close friends over the years. And, I mean, couldn't be happier for the people at Southern Mississippi. My nephew's a player up there and, you know, had the enjoyment of winning that regional and seeing his family enjoy it. I mean, it's special. It's special times for them.
Yeah, got a chance. 2 wins away from Omaha, and lo and behold, who do you have to face?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Just like the script said. Huh?
That's it.
It's amazing how that NCAA gets creative, isn't it?
Well, you never know sometimes. I mean, you think the seeds are going to hold, and okay, maybe you're going to Miami. Nope.
So Texas ends up playing. Texas A&M ends up playing TCU.
Yeah, in the first round. Yeah, that's well. Look, the thing to remember in this is there are rules that they have to follow in terms of crafting a bracket, and obviously you can't play somebody from your conference. Right. And if it's possible, then you can't.
I thought the committee did a tremendous job of being fair to everybody.
I think they did too.
I've said for years and years, you know, everybody was talking about, this could be an all Louisiana regional with Southern Miss. Mm-hmm. Give the kids a trip. They work hard to get.
And what does it take sometimes? And what does it take sometimes? It takes somebody in the room to go to bat for you. Don't forget that J.R. Teagues is on the committee this year. So the former head coach and now the athletic director at Southeastern, and that plays a part.
And they've given it. You look around; they gave everybody a trip. I mean, they didn't make the obvious 3 guys from Texas go to Texas A&M.
But here's the other thing that they did. Everybody went to a different place. But there's a rule in NCAA travel that if you're less than 400 miles from the site, you have to bus,
right.
Which obviously a bus costs a lot less than a charter flight. And every one of those schools still was inside 400 miles, but yet they sent them to 4 different places. So O'Neill walks to put runners at first and second with 2 outs for Cam Sr. 4 innings, 4 at-bats. Yeah, you wanted to get a chance to see him swing the bat here this evening, right?
Good stuff.
That is grounded foul.
He might get himself out of being stale tonight.
Cam tonight has singled and scored, walk, grounded out to short. So he's 1 for 2, scored a run. Gibbs with 9 hits on the evening, taking advantage of a lot of opportunities given to them. It's 1-1. Senior is the 9th man to bat in the inning.
In the immortal words of Roberto Duran, no mas, no mas.
Didn't even try to advance there. I think it's going back to the screen. And well, this is not an easy situation. You mentioned Barrett Ray said they were a little shorthanded with some things going on this evening, so you don't have the depth that you would normally have, maybe not all the pitching you want. And obviously you're team with pretty much your regular roster facing a team that is basically made up of seniors and college freshmen. And at this age, that's, it's, I don't want to say it's a varsity team playing a JV team. That's not a fair analogy, but to a certain degree, it's still at this age when you've got maybe a couple of years age difference, that makes a big deal. Ground ball to third, he'll take it the short way, go to the bag, and that will do it for Gibbs here in the 4th inning, but not before they score 5 and make this a 17-2 game as we head to the top of the 5th. Gives us a chance to remind you that today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Gibbs Construction, a leader in the construction industry in Louisiana and the Gulf Coast for more than 45 years, transforming dreams, visions, and plans into reality. Gibbs Construction.
Another new arm out there, Lenny. Get his number 18.
If it is, if that's 18, that's Brady Ramon.
That's him.
Out of Archbishop Rummel, graduated this year. He, too, is unsigned. Maybe a coach is out there watching. The one thing we didn't get into about all of that, so many of those decisions, and it's not just baseball, it's every sport, so many of those decisions are getting made at showcase camps and things like that about who you're going to recruit and who you're going to sign and who you're going to offer on down the line, everything that's involved with recruiting, and less about watching film and seeing someone in real game action, and it's every sport. It's not just a baseball thing.
The old days of recruiting are over. To be quite honest.
But here's one thing that's interesting that's been proposed out there, and if this passes on the NCAA level, it's a game changer in terms of what will happen. That you cannot have contact with a prospective student athlete until July entering their junior year in any sport, and if that's the case, that is truly something game-changing.
I will be the first one to advocate that. I mean, this early commitment, and as a freshman in high school, is just bizarre to me. I mean, I can't imagine the monster that we're creating, and it's not fair to the young man. Like I said from at the top of the show, your freshman year, you're being told you're going to be playing for X. The fighting whoever's, and the fighting whoever's, hey, appreciate your talent level, but their commitment to that young man isn't going to happen to his senior year. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So Channing Cornelius leads things off here in the top of the fifth. Again, mercy rule in effect. So it just takes a routine inning to end, of some kind to end this one. It's 17-2. That is fouled back. That's outside, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Ramon pitched an inning this weekend and got a win, got a couple of strikeouts along the way. He gets a strikeout to start things here in the top of the fifth. Ramon was 3-4 with an ERA of 3 for Rummel in the spring. Worked 49 innings, struck out 51. About a little under a hit an inning, 47 hits allowed. As Bacchus, the leadoff hitter, steps in.
That's a ground ball to short.
Routine play, throw across is in time, and we are 1 out away.
No, Detillier. I'm sorry.
Brady Ramon now. Oh, sorry, Detillier at shortstop, or is he taking over there? I believe so, yeah. So
nice
this is
player out of.
Yeah, this is another. This is Rashad Nance batting now. It's a spot previously occupied by Ahmad Owens. Swing and a miss. It's 1-1.
Man, you had me second guessing myself.
Yeah,
I made that right call.
Yeah,
there.
right. You've got it. You got it right. There's so many guys that have come in and out here for both teams. You got to make sure we get the right ones there. The 1-1 up high. It's a ball. 2-1. So before we forget a chance, you talk about the All-American League. You guys, the big fundraiser you do every year. Your gala coming up next month.
That's going to be July the 17th, I believe, at the Rock and Bowl. And
tickets here at the ballpark?
Tickets available through anyone that has Sherman for their last name and at the ballpark. So if you guys out there listening and you want to be part of we're sending out our mailing. I think the mailing goes out today, so you should be getting something in the mail by this weekend. And, again, we appreciate all the support all of our former players and families have given us. And anybody out there, whether you're commercial or an individual that wants to be part of our program, we accept you with open arms.
And the great thing about the night is a baseball reunion. It really is. You sit there, and if you're a baseball fan, you see a who's who of baseball in the New Orleans area. Ground ball to short that should do it. Nice handle over there at first base by Bertucci to get the final out of this one. And that will do it. The final score tonight is Gibbs Construction 17 and St. Augustine-based Chief Warren McDaniels 2. 17 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 4 hits, 2 errors for McDaniels. This was not a pretty game by any means, Joe, but I think what we saw here tonight is what you talked about is how a little bit of what Legion Baseball has evolved into, trying to use the opportunity to get some of the older players.
Yeah, you got both ends of the scale here. You got a young club in St. Aug using the summer to develop their younger players, and you got a veteran club in Gibbs Construction who's trying to maybe win a national championship.
They could well do that. And look, you've still got some guys, as you look at this list, we called out a lot of guys who have already signed, and you got a lot of guys who are maybe looking to be seen by that one other coach and maybe get that opportunity to keep playing somewhere next year. Well, Joe, this has been fun. Always great to be back at the home of baseball in New Orleans. Hope to be able to do it again soon.
I hope we didn't bore you too much, but I enjoyed the conversation.
It was great conversation all night long. Once again, your final score is Gibbs Construction 17 and Chief Warren McDaniels 2. For Chip and Matt Merritt, for Joe Sherman, I'm Lenny Van Gilder. Thanks for joining us. Stay with CrescentCitySports.com as we will have summer baseball all throughout the rest of the summer. More information to come on our next broadcast. Until next time, so long, everybody.